Hi there, Randy Green here. You are listening to another Whole Project podcast, and we are still in the 2025 timeline Forerunner section of the processes that I am working my way through with information that I want to share. As always, I am working to progress, I'm working to develop, and by that, jumping the timelines. It is an important month, and we are in month 6, and we are having a lot of number 6 that all goes with the choice making and the correct partnership, so to speak. And partnerships is here in what we call a meta perspective of partnership. It means the correct partnership with our body. It means the correct partnership with our life. It means the correct partnership with everything that we are doing, but it also entails the correct partnership of our future and the timelines that those of us who are doing this difficult choice now looking into, am I to remain on the 4th cycle timelines, losing viability, getting depleted, getting sucked into the universal matrix, or what have you? Not necessarily that one. There are still remaining groups there, but the majority of the 4th cycles traveled back in time and took their route before the fall of Atlantis. So there's not many of these left, which means that what was supposed to support the 4th cycle, sorry about that, is no longer supporting the 4th cycle networks inside our reality, which is not shown particularly strong now, but it will in the years to come. So this is, as always, are we shifting in the last minute, or are we shifting when we are seeing the signs? And this is what I will work with in the Forerunner material, the ability to learn to read the signs, read the patterns, as well as being able to continue the work that we are supposed to do and be able to make the moves when we need to make the moves, and do the work when we need to do the work and not when it's too late, because these are windows of opportunity. The trends and the patterns are all about windows of opportunity. So that is what I want to work with in the Timeline Explorer, or the 2025 Timeline Forerunner material, which is based upon the Timeline Explorer material I made in 2015, where I had this choice already then 10 years ago, but chose to continue to work with what I felt was important to continue off the 4th cycle work, which has now been all put together in the progression work courses, beginning with the basic concepts that takes us out of the old spirituality and into the, what we could say, the transition material, the understanding of what we're supposed to have learned in the 4th cycle, and then move into the advanced energy work, where you are taught the basics, so to speak, and the advanced level of how to clear your energy field, so that you will get on board the 5th cycle, get rid of the old progression and or prohibiting technologies. They used to be progression technologies, but were altered because of the hijackers and turned into prohibiting technologies. So instead of assisting us in the progression work, were turned against us and has been used as their imprisonment tool for a very long time for the majority of humans on this planet. So with these implications of shifting into the 5th cycle and getting ready for that, and understanding that this is also a battle to remain and keep what we have of remaining viable genetics as our own, and not something that is being controlled and taken by us. For us, this struggle to get into the 5th cycle is just as much a claim for the right to be a sovereign being within what we call future worlds that are under different groups of both enhanced humans that used to be humans on our planet, part of the military projects. These were some of the ones I encountered already back in 2015. Some of them were part of the NOAA project. Others were part of other MIG projects. So that is some of the COVID things that have been going on in our reality, and the whole process of, is there going to be a disclosure and all of these kind of things. To my best knowledge, that train has passed, or the horse has bolted, or the ship has sailed, because that was part of the whole questioning with the fourth cycle people and the ones in the fourth cycle, what they needed to know to be able to do the transition into the fifth cycle timelines and the new network that goes with, particularly the neural network, as well as some of the what we call the processes that are connected to the central nervous system, whereas the peripheral nervous system and the glands and all of that processes are connected to particularly the fourth cycle, which is why I am right now thinking about, should I do, as I did with Buddhism, I taken Buddhism on the whole Academy YouTube channel for free. Should I do a whole series on the chakra system? And they are literally to say, this is what you're supposed to achieve with it. But since the chakra teaching system and the teachings of that were aimed at males particularly and not females, and within a specific branch of the Hindu groups, and even though it has been altered by C.W. Leadbeater and the esoteric teaching systems into something that should be for all, the basic level of it is for a specific group within the Aryan Shivas. So that is for the selected ones that left Atlantis and went to these parts of the world and continued to try and complete their fourth cycle in a specific manner that were taught during the time of Atlantis, dating back to Lemuria. So we're talking about some really ancient technology that in many ways perhaps not has so much to do with what we could say are the transition sciences. And I would more suggest that you do the whole transition science classes and get on top and on board on the transformative energy system I am working with that were part of the original purpose of transforming the genetics that got affected by the timeline event and reverted and began to regress and turned into something else. So going into the fifth cycle is also right now a communication with the races that are on this fifth cycle and what they achieve and what they want to achieve with the fifth cycle. And those of us who are trying to get there, it is literally like answering some kind or sending some kind of application as in kind of when you're looking for a new job, right? So there is these discussions, the interviews, and what do you have to offer? Because these groups of enhanced humans and future humans and different races that are working with these future humans, they don't really need us. So that's kind of where we are, as in they know they're obligated to have their information out there. Some of them are giving it as clear as possible. Others are giving it a little bit cloaked with only half level of information. 60% of it is correct, 40% is not. So that means that people will get to just the beginning level of the fifth cycle and never into the higher levels of it, where we would effectively have a say if we were able to do the transition. So of course I'm aiming high. I'm a very ambitious person, always been so. And I always look to finish off all the levels I need to finish off. Not one stone must be left unturned, not one thing, because whatever's going on in our reality in the completion cycle is all about finishing off what we began a long time ago, closing down all timelines, closing down all genetic access points, and closing down all what we call windows of opportunity where we could be sucked back in time once the rest of the universal structure moves on. So this is what the completion cycle is about, and that's why we are up to our neck in things that needs to be done. And I know many of you are feeling the loss of viability in the fourth cycle networks, and that is affecting your stamina. And that is at the same time rising up a lot of old energies, old elemental energies, old entity energies that are, of course, trying to keep us stuck because we are their fodder. So we are now in not only what we call a kind of shifting position where we need to make some very difficult choices that will have huge implications on our lives the rest of the time on this planet, because it will affect those we love, it will affect us, it will affect everything around us. So in that manner, if we do choose to go to the fifth cycle, we are literally choosing to be in the world but stop being in the world. I've been talking about that for a long time, and some of the older videos I had, I've taken them down because it was just a little bit too, perhaps a little bit coming on too strong, where most people are kind of, I'm not ready for that one yet. So the question is, when we're doing this work, will we ever do it when we are ready? No, Big choices are never done when we are ready. They come as thieves in the night, as it's said in the Gospels. They come when we're not ready. So we better be ready. So we better make that strategy, that triage, that plan, that SWOT analysis that is looking at our strengths and our weaknesses and our opportunities and the threats, and figure out what do we do with these? How do we get this going? And what are the choices that we need to do? And that's some of the processes I am in the middle of as well, like the rest of you, with these psychological features. Yeah, I've just done all the progression material for the 4th cycle. Am I not supposed to be there and teach it to people? Am I just going to say, I've done it, it's there, it's for self-study, and then I just move on? Or as a whole other level of information, is this the end of my business? Is there no use of me in the future timelines? So this is the problem. But fortunately for me, I did get some information back in 2015 and 16, where last time I did the template readings, and I was deeply affiliated with some of the military projects, both in England and in America, which are the foundational levels of the enhanced humans, and by that got some pretty high-level type of information, which I do feel is some kind of leverage that I can use in the Forerunner material as well, which I will put together after this video, beginning to look into some of these implications that has come forth in the last 5 years, where the military project was supposed to activate. I call them the MIC, Military Industrial Complex projects. So let's just call them MIC projects. The MIC projects that were supposed to activate, and I saw that during 2017 and 18, as the Orion gates opened up and we got connected to the Dark Galactic Core, that the majority that had the Pleiadian genetics had a backdoor in the Pleiadian genetics that literally made these different templates and energy systems collapse and were easily taken over and turned into something else, which is some of the issues we've been seeing with a lot of the ones that were supposed to be the forerunners of a different type of alternative future, let's put it that way, has now turned into being a conspiracy theorist and what have you, and looking at the really less positive side of reality. And I buy that, are pushing all of the energy there, and what you focus on, you give energy, and what you give energy will reflect back to you and become part of your energy system. So these are the laws that we also need to learn to work with. But having done all of that material already in the progression work courses, where I discussed these laws and the original transformative energy system of our planet and the original restoration program and everything that was supposed to happen here, with that one out there, the next question is, okay, where can I use my forte? Where can I use my strengths? What are my weaknesses here? And one of them is, of course, the resistance to go into the MIG projects and say, okay, I am offering my services there because I know what you need. Not that we can do much, but if we could get people up and understanding these levels of energy work and the biocoding systems, which is some of the new class material I will work with as well in new psychology, where I'm beginning to look at a new type of self-healing, a new type of energy work, as well as a new type of what we call with the biocodes that goes with the biosciences, because that's also part of the progression work that we need to do. We need to learn to work with our biofields that is connected to the central nervous system and the brain. And as we shift into the new neural networks that are connected to the new frequency fence, which is not called the frequency fence, it's called the net. We could call it the sky net if you like, alluding to Terminator, right? So because it's linked up to virtual reality, literally. So if we are going to do that new type of neural networking and are going to get these new structural layers from where we can work with the new level of information, and join the forces of the groups that are being selected for this work, which will, of course, be within the nerds and the scientists and the ones that are already having a huge brain capacity and knows about the human sciences, which is why I've been trying to teach you all of this, because those of us who've been doing the 4th cycle, we've been all about the heart field, right? We've been all about compassion. But the 5th cycle don't need compassion. Well, they do, but they don't want compassion. They want scientists. They want brilliant people. They want people that knows how to do stuff. Just to look at what's been pushed out there for the youngsters of the Ninja Turtles or what do you call it, or Spider-Man, Avengers, or whatever you have got a fantasy movie. It's all about brilliant young people, superhumans. They want the superhumans. They don't want Brian down the corner or Elsie from the cafe. They want the ones that can make a difference. So those of us who are jumping timelines there, we have to have something to offer, which sucks. I don't like it, because I do feel that those of us who have been working with the heart field and has this kindness in us, we have more to offer than the rest. We just need to get our brains up and running with the sciences. And that's what I've been trying to push all of you into. But we are, as always, things are moving quickly now because of the removal of the old technologies and the old timeline energies and the closing down of the sun and the shifting of the networks into the future Earth position and everything that's going on. So it's not about, oh yeah, I'll do a 5-year study at the university and then I'm get there. Well, you will probably be too late on that one because that 5-year period has been taken from us, right? So now we need to do everything at once, which gives a little bit of a panicky kind of feeling, a little bit of stress, right? So we need to learn to work quickly, which is one of the signature traits of the 5th cycle. The 4th cycle's signature traits are the ability to work with information layers on 6 different energetic layers following our advanced energy system. That is what the vibrational heart field was supposed to do, not compassion. It was supposed to learn to process information on 6 different energetic layers. I teach this in the whole transition science classes. So for those of you who want to get up to speed, I suggest you do these classes as quickly as possible and then begin to make a strategy, because we are effectively need to put together an application before they close the door and say, we have what we need. This is the year where you choose whether or not you want to stay in the 4th cycle or you want to move into the 5th. And the expiration date is September 1st. So there you have it. So we need to put something together before that. That's why I'm working like crazy right now. And all of you will be a little bit kind of, oh, I'm bogged down with all of this information. What am I going to use with all? I can't catch up on it. I can't study it. It's too much. It's too much. And I completely get that. But for me, I'm doing 2 things right now. That's the strategy I'm playing right now. I am, first and foremost, I have thought about taking a job, going back, take a job, just, fuck it all, right? To say, I've done my courses, I've done the 4th cycle thing. That was what I came here to do. I'm technically not obligated for the 5th cycle. That's not really, because it's something else. It's so different from the true wells. The true wells technically pulled out during the times of Atlantis. So we're not really in the 5th cycle. So I'm technically not obligated from the councils to do that. So that should be by my own volition. So that's my own choice if I want to do that. And what would drive me to do that? 1, curiosity. 2, because I can. 3, because I know something they need. They know that I know, but they also know that they will figure it out. And they are more on this kind of, they're dispensable people, right? So they can just pick and choose and who cares, right? It's just an old big experiment, right? Crack some eggs to make an omelet, right? But that's not how we work in the true worlds. We work with this. Everybody should have a fair chance to do the progression work, and everybody should have the information they need to do the progression work. And everybody should have that information, be taught that information, have access to that information, learn to work with that information, experience that information, and then by the experiences and how and what it does to their energy system, then make that choice. Do you want to go down the route into devastation, or do you want to progress and elevate? So if that choice has been taken from us, then what will we then have to work with, right? Then we will have what they will impose on us. We will have what they will download into us when we sleep, the artificial programs, what have you. They will then be in control of our new neural network using the Skynet, just to use that analogy, because it's not far out. It's actually quite accurate. So just to put things in context, so not to freak you out or put you into a state of fright or anything, but things are shifting now, people. And that's where the difficulty comes in. I have, in my time, because I've been conscious since I was a kid to some degree, of course, my brain couldn't process the information, but I saw stuff as a kid. I knew stuff as a kid. I had dreams as a kid. I had out-of-body experiences as a kid, not the astral out-of-body. Well, I did have that in dream, the one flying in dreams, right? But I did have this before bedtime where my energy system would expand outside my body. And I just knew I was more than this body, and it was shown as this white energy kind of thing. So, and I've had experiences, telepathic contact with animals, all sorts of stuff since I was a kid. I grew up with cats that nurtured me and took care of me, and all of these kind of things. So for me, I've always known there were more to this. And when I was 11, I began the first series of dreams where I understood that the world was not in the state it was supposed to be, and it was not going in the right direction, that this was the end cycle. And I got all of the scary dreams that follow with that one. So for me, it's been part of my life, even though I closed it down when I was 15, and then I just pushed it down a box until I was 22, where that box blew open in a series of dreams where I literally was shaken out of my dreaming I was drowning, and then got to know, wake up and see things as they are. You are not here to sleep. Get your shit together and do what you need to do. And then I've been on that journey ever since. So the whole process is always these challenges that we have ahead of us, those of us who are doing this. And the Forerunner, you could say that is a kind of an experimentation for the ones that have not already been picked. Some of you that are Forerunners have been picked already, and they have genetically modified you already, whether you know it or not. Those of you in your 30s and 40s, and others will try to do it. And that is what they are offering. That is the chance that we get. And this is not where you kind of feel, oh, this is, if I don't do that, then I am kind of obligated, or I'm responsible, or I have not taken the chance, or what have you. Each and one of us must do what we feel is right for us to do. Whatever offers there come from either side of the game, we are allowed to decline it, whether it's an offer from the good guys or it's an offer from the bad guys. It doesn't matter. We are allowed to decline. That is the last piece of free will we have, to say, yeah, I'm on board and I'm going to do what it takes. And then we get on board and figure out how difficult it is. And then we are, of course, allowed to say, no, I'm out. To some degree, all depending on how deep in you are. And you know how it kind of goes. The deeper in you go into something, the more impossible it would be to leave. And that's what the esoterics call the burning ground, because you kind of burn all bridges and there's nothing to return to. So you only got one chance, and that is to move forward. And that's kind of where I am now with the fourth cycle. I could get a job. I could just get a job, not do any, because if I do that, I go down in energy, and then just be contracted, as we know what happens when we get a contract and we get into a kind of business, get under their factions, their rules, their energies, whatever's going on, and then lose everything I work for, because that is what will happen if I go out there and are doing an everyday job from 9 to 5, taking the train to work, being submerged in normality. I will become normal, because that's how our energy systems respond. Either we keep ourselves in the higher energies and we work from that level of reality, being in the world without being in the world, or we are part of the world and then we become the world. And that's the energetic laws. There is no in between, and especially not now when we are moving into the fifth cycle. There, the gap will just be too big, too large, unless, of course, you are employed in a scientific lab that works with new type of technology, or you are part of the MIG projects and you are working on one of the bases or something else that keeps you within the crossing between general science and the future sciences, which if I had taken a different turn in my life, I would definitely be deeply embedded into that, because that's what I used to do in the workstations. I am a scientist first and foremost. It was in the previous universal cycles, I was a warrior, but the scientist has not really been allowed to be in this life, which I recall from my struggle with the different levels of information as a kid. Not that I didn't understand it, but my brain works differently. It doesn't work linearly, as you know. It works in spirals, it works in patterns, and it works in different ways. Whenever, if you ask for me to look at a molecule and I go and I try to explain it within general sciences, I can't. But if you allow me to explain in the fourth and fifth and sixth dimension, I can tell you what that molecule is for, which cycle it belongs to, and all sorts of higher order sciences, and not general sciences. So I do know general science, but I always interpret within the framework of the higher order sciences. So this is how my brain works. Put something in front of me and I will tell you what it is within this reality. But the big genius levels will be in the higher order science aspect of things. And that's how we are approaching things in the fifth cycle. So that's part of my leverage too, because you can say the people that are working in science labs and other people or other places similar to that, they're still working within the paradigm of general sciences. And there are big steps to be taken there to shift out of what we call electromagnetic field research into the holographic, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, multi-faceted information level systems where a molecule is not just a molecule but can be blasted out to all sorts of levels that goes beyond the Higgs field and the baronic matter and the division they have now made into 6 subquarks and 6 sublevels, which will then discover to be divided into further, but they will there understand the true understanding of the principles of entanglement that goes with the holographic principles, not as a projection mechanism, but the entanglement has deeper layers and connection points to the quantum fields from where it accesses the other realities, which is not the carrier wave, is not gravity, it is the holographic features. And this is what they need to learn to understand. And they will get to there through the different genome sciences that they are now working with within what we call CRISPR and these other genetic modification programs. But this will all come in the years ahead of us. And that's what the scientists will do. And those of you studying biology and other neurosciences, this is where you will have your say, because as we understand the biology and we understand the molecular state of multidimensional features of the molecules, we will also begin to work with the neural network that will then expand following these different fields and these different molecular states of energy, and by that begin to process information on a whole new level. Just putting things a little bit in context. So with that kind of little bit, I'm not giving any answers to anything right now because there are no solutions right now. We are in a process of making that difficult choice if we want to remain stuck in the 4th cycle and go down with a sinking ship. That's how I see it. You might see it differently because you are not seeing things as I am. And again, as always, those of us who have the inner sight, the manipulation level will always be up to 70%. Just take that as granted. Whatever you're seeing, investigate it from all angles, because the level of manipulation inside this reality is extremely high and we can't really trust what we are getting from within. So of course, I'm asking myself these questions. Are they deliberately pushing me that direction so I will not work in the 4th cycle and pushing me into the 5th cycle, which they already gave me information for in 2015 and wanted me to get me back on board. And since I've not done the other stuff, which they patiently have awaited for me to complete, they are now literally closing the door because they literally don't want me to put more energy into the 4th cycle. They want me to move on instead of now beginning to teach the original version of the chakra system or the original ability with the transformative energy system. So this is also some of the things that we need to ask ourselves, those of us who are doing the pioneering work. Are we being pushed forward because that is an effective way to shut the door so we can't really do what we came here to do? Or is it because there actually is no more viability, and by the laws of the cycles and the original ways of progressive humans and how we used to operate, we are now to move on and leave behind what is no longer serving any purpose and has technically gone into what we call the failed state, from where we are obligated to move on and continue to give our energy into something that is viable and can continue to progress, and not put our energy into something that no longer has the viability rate, and by that will and must go into its devastation cycle, as it is part of the law of the cycle. So this is again the complicated choices that needs to be made. So it all comes down to this whole, the only thing where I can test this is by looking at the people I've been working with the last 15 years or so, and the progress they have achieved and the challenges they have been in. And I must say to a large degree that we have probably been in more dire straits than we thought to begin with. And this work is intrinsically more complicated than we foresaw when we began this, trying to get into the real understanding of the 4th cycle and not just doing the spiritual teachings that focus on compassion, just to put it very, in a very incorrect but paraphrased way. Okay, what is the top goal of the spiritual teaching systems? Yeah, to open the heart field, right? So, but with that comes another level and another level and another level. And that's what I've been trying to teach in the progression work courses. And I can see that people are not progressing with the courses as they were supposed to. They start with the first course and then they just kind of fall out of it because it becomes too scientific. And that doesn't really go with the compassion heart field where we want to, I don't know. Well, I can't speak on your behalf, right? But I can speak on my own and say, well, when I was in the spiritual teaching work back in my 20s, and I fell for that, and it was wonderful. I was working with crystals, I was working with tarot cards, and I never really fell for the guardian kind of thing because I've always been a little bit too analytic for that one, a little bit too critic, right? So it's just kind of, I don't need guides. But it was fun to play with, and I had friends that were playing with it a lot, and they were all angel cards and what have you, and they were all about the guides that were telling them this and that and whatever. And I listened to the information they got, and I said, these guides, they are not really giving you the information you need. That's just soothing your ego, people. They're just talking to your comfort zone. They are not really pushing you to get beyond. Remember, a psychotherapist, what do? We push people out of their comfort zone if it is necessary. Let me just put it in there. When I've been working with clients, if they have had something in a childhood trauma that is so deeply buried and is so put away by defense mechanisms, and they're coping well in life, and they have arranged a life where they don't poke into that trauma, they're not activating it, they're not particularly stressed, they are putting themselves in safe environment where they have this comfort zone life that ensures that this childhood trauma does not get invoked and rise up to the surface because the barriers are up and being kept up, and they have a strategy to keep it up. I'm not the one that is going to push the walls down and break down the barriers and do whatever to get into that childhood trauma, because they're functional as they are. And that's, again, the understanding where people are. If they're comfortable in their life choice where they are, and that's what they want, because they're too afraid to go into the other or to the deep end and see what's going on there, it's not my job to push them anywhere. And that goes with when we're doing this work, we are looking at people that choose to be in the fourth cycle and remain there and stay there and not doing anything. And it's not our job to push them. But for those who are willing to see these things and are willing to work with it, and it surfaces because the barriers are breaking down due to the changes of our world and the planetary activation cycle and these kind of things, as this is the advanced psychotherapy I'm offering as well, there we will go in and say, okay, now we are beginning to look into past life traumas that are surfacing. We're going to look into some of your abduction traumas or your pull-in traumas. There's a difference. Abduction is physical abduction. Pull-in is energetic abduction, so to speak, which they really refined in the years 2016 and onward. As the prohibiting technologies began to break down, they were really good at doing this pull in energetically, where it was all about the parallel universal matrix. They have not done literal abductions. They have just done the pull-ins holographically, where they take your energy system, leave your body when you sleep, and take your energy system and then put it into artificial realities from where they can do the exact same thing, because the energy system, as long as it's connected to some kind of physicality and timeline, it does what it's supposed to do. So that's the pull-in. But when we talk about the physical ramifications of the pull-ins are as severe as the actual abduction, because the body responds in the same way. Once the energy system comes back from wherever it's been during nighttime, the physical form will still suffer the ramification of what's the alterations that's been done to the energy system, including the psychological structure or the personality matrix. And that's why I say that those of you who are getting into the fifth cycle, as we get into this reality where we don't have the emotional barriers anymore, we begin to literally just explode into the multidimensional features of our world and all the timelines, and begin to seeing things from all levels of reality. And the molecular structure changes and becomes high vibrant, and our energy system becomes high vibrant, and our brain processes are multidimensional, and our molecular state is no longer lodged into the prohibiting technologies and are moving beyond these, and beginning to expand into the different fields from where we reconnect to everything that is in our planetary system, including entities and what have you. The psychological structure needs to be strong. We can't just go in like infants and then say, oh, this is fun. fun. It's absolutely not going to be fun. It's going to demand that resilience I talked about, which is also part of the Forerunner group class. Why I want to do it as a group class, because as a psychotherapist, I am my branch, the one I got licensed within, is what we call existential psychotherapy. That is the meaning of life, literally, but also group therapy. And there we work with whenever people are opening up and sharing their experiences, everybody can kind of learn from it if the one that is leading the group is able to use it in a transformative conversation, as I like to put it, not psychotherapy, but transformative conversation. Because psychotherapy is one thing where we kind of map the incidents and understand the incidents and build frames of references for the incident. But the transformative conversation in itself is where the therapist, in my case, me, becomes the healer of the event in the conversation, not hands-on healing, but the processes of understanding and the airing and the talking about it with a person that understands completely what it is, and at the same time also is able to go in and amplify the different code layers in the right manner. When you talk about something, I can amplify code layers in the right manner. If you have reached that point where you are on top of your own maintenance of your own energy system. So that's some of the things I want to try to put into the new self-healing courses, as well as the new inner work courses that are oriented towards the fifth cycle and not what I taught in the advanced energy work that is part of the progression work. The progression work is all about the fourth cycle and how you get into the fifth from that one. So you technically have to complete these courses to be able to really get into the fifth cycle from my point of view, as I see it. If you're doing it on your own, if someone is doing it for you, of course you have already been pulled in many times and genetically modified in the fourth and fifth dimension. So you're already on top of whatever they want to use you for. Okay, so just a little bit a heads up of thoughts, processes of today, and I'm beginning to make some of the course material for the Forerunner group class. If nobody signs up for it as a group class, I will offer it later this year as what we call individual classwork, self-study, as I've done with everything else, because well, not everybody's allowed to do this work, are they? And not everybody has the opportunity to do it now, this year, even though this is the year where we could do this kind of proving that there are effectively people that can do this on their own behalf, and they should be taken into consideration of the future races that are coming our way. So this is also a little bit of kind of, yeah, we are actually humans that can do this and that are capable of doing this. We don't all need to be remodified with alien technology. But again, I also know the strength and the resilience and the ability to do so. I don't know how many of you that have been warriors in the previous galactic wars and how many of you that were scientists during the rounds of this solar system. So, but anyways, as always, the chances should be given. That is always my policy, and that's the politics we have from the true humans. Every chance must be given as far as it is, as long as there's viability. The moment there are no longer any viability, no further chances will be given, because then we are literally going against the laws, and that will bring disorder. So there is this momentum where there is an opportunity, and that momentum is still there. But I also know that this momentum, as I have noticed ever since 2013, every year this momentum grows less and less and less and less. And there is absolutely no doubt that what has happened since 2016, where the old programs began to fall apart and everything is literally changing around us as we reset and go back into the original energetic dynamics of our reality field, and the different MIG projects that were supposed to be put there to prevent this. This is one of the readings I have with one of the military projects, and what they technically did to try and prevent the resetting, which did not succeed due to the Orion backdoor and the Pleiadian genetics. Anyway, so those of us who are choosing to do this on our own behalf and trying to prove that we can do this effectively and we are worthy, we are up for a little bit of a challenge, let me put it this way. And this is where those of you who are strategically minded and are in that capacity of I don't know what the resilience trait should be of that. I'll come up with the right terminology later on. That's also part of the Forerunner material. I'll figure this one out. I'll work my ass off to get the information out there and to get the course material made. So I'll put one thing on YouTube that should get you to give you the incentive to do this. So you kind of get excited about it and want to do this and feel this speaks to me. This speaks to my heart and my brain and my body. And I feel impatient and I want to do this. So you sign up and get going so we can prove that this is possible, because you're a little bit of a what do you call competitive personality, right? You want to prove that you can do this. So you have to have some balls, right? You have to do this, get your balls out, get your ass on fire and sign up and do these kind of things. Or choose your own way of proving this. But one thing is for sure, the ones that we are up against here, they are demanding every single thing of us that we can come up with. And this is going to be probably one of the most difficult job interviews that we have ever embarked on, and proving ourselves to be worthy of the new timelines and get on board of that. Those of us who are not selected will be probably the largest challenge of your life, if ever. But at the same time, whether we succeed or not, what you will learn from it will teach you so much more than anything you have ever done before. So this is me I'm not giving you a job offer. I'm just saying this is what's demanded of us. They've been pushing me like crazy, as in kind of, yeah, you can make a course a day, so do it. So this is, everything is running very quickly with these guys. So if we're a little bit about, yeah, you have to do 1,000 things at the same time without getting stressed, and still keep your head clear and be strategic and have the overview of what you need to do, and then do it all in one fucking go. That's the new bosses. That's what they want from us. This is where we go in and become the warrior scientists that understand what is at stake, but at the same time also have to prove ourselves, which is a shitty position, because who are we to prove ourselves for? Will they ever recognize our abilities and what we have to offer? Will they not already just say, yeah, no, you're not what we want. So, but we're giving you the chance because the law tells us so, but you're not really getting a chance. So that's another part of the issue that we are dealing with here. So we are moving into uncertainty. And that's also where we have to have the stamina and the personal strength to do this, because nothing is given. At the end of the day, in the true worlds and the original humanoid realities, we create the worlds. We create the realities. We are the ones that are making who and what we are, and the environments and the worlds that we are participating in. So that's part of the fifth cycle as well, to understand nobody's governing us. We are the ones that are to govern ourselves, govern our energy fields. And by that, and these choices and that responsibility and the work on the timelines will be the ones that are part of governing the reality field that we are part of, by the very beings that we are. So this is some of the things that we are also bringing to the table. So just to put in context that for those of you who are eager to do the Forerunner material, it would be a good idea to do the progression work, because there are talk about the original rules of how things work in this reality. And we are trying to bridge the original progressive dynamics with the new fifth cycle timelines and whatever's going on out there, whether it will be part of their worlds or we will effectively create our own type of energy fields, which will connect us to the original fifth cycle network of the solar system, because I know they are there. That is also a possibility in this work. So we are starting this work without knowing the outcome, but we are in the processes of doing this work, creating the outcome in who we are, in the choices we make, in how brilliantly we follow the rules and the laws and the principles of the original solar system dynamics, and how effectively we are to understand the manipulation and the games that we are part of, being strategically minded and understand the dynamics and the functionality of whatever's going on around us, so that we can read the signs, read the trends, and by that make the choices that are in alignment with our original energy system and how we want to continue our eternal existence, either in this solar system or beyond. So thank you for listening into this podcast. Until next time, take care.